The Legend of Zelda franchise is 40 years old, and that means we have gotten many amazing titles over the years set in the Kingdom of Hyrule. These are my favorite Zelda games, and they all mean something to me. We'll be focusing on mainline entries in the franchise, both 2D and 3D games, so no spin-offs. And let's get started with number 10, which is A Link to the Past. The third Zelda game in the mainline series is one of the most iconic and beloved games of all time. It took everything that the original Zelda game did and made it bigger and better. It introduced iconic areas and songs like Kakariko Village, and had so many great moments like the game's action-packed opening when you had to go to the castle and try to free Princess Zelda. This game tends to be very high on many people's lists, and I think it might be my friend G's favorite Zelda game of all time. But here's the thing, I'm not very good at top-down adventure games, especially ones from decades ago. It can be a bit hard and a bit obtuse for me. I know, I suck, I get it, I suck.
Boo! You stink!
But I still love the game, and its visuals and its soundtrack are timeless. Even if gameplay-wise, it does show its age here and there. And number 9 is Link's Awakening. In particular the remake on Switch, because that's the version that I played. This game might not be as expansive as A Link to the Past, but it's a very fun and way more approachable game, and I love its setting, Koholint Island, and its many colorful characters. And much like Majora's Mask, this game is not set in Hyrule, and its location has many odd, quirky characters. The director of the game was inspired by the iconic David Lynch show, Twin Peaks, which I'm a big fan of the first 2 seasons to be more precise. So yeah, expect this game to be very weird, and it has fun dungeons, a mix of top-down and 2D gameplay, and it allows you to jump, which was a rare thing for Zelda games at the time. And it's a great entry point for people wanting to enter the realm of 2D Zelda, and maybe even Zelda in general. And my number 8 is Skyward Sword. This is a game that deserves more love than what it gets. I don't like that many people criticize it for being so linear. I think one of the best things about the Zelda series is that every game tries new things, and tries to be distinct, like with its art style and its game mechanics. So there's nothing wrong with a Zelda game that was made to be more linear, just like there's nothing wrong with the more recent games which were made to be way more open than any Zelda game that came before them. And its linearity is what made the story so good, contrary to the more open recent titles. And it tells an important story, since it shows the origin of the Master Sword and it is the earliest game in the Zelda timeline. And it has one of the best Princess Zeldas, and her dynamic with Link is great. This game has many great friends, allies, villains, bosses, side quests, dungeons, and a beautiful art style, and several great songs. Sure, the motion controls are finicky, but you can just play the Switch version, which has options for more normal control schemes. So that can be fixed.
Looks like we're having a little interference here.
誰かワイヤレスを使ってますか?
Somebody out there using wireless? Anybody?
And now on to number 7, Majora's Mask. When it comes to story and art design and vibes, this might be the best Zelda game ever, because this direct sequel to Ocarina of Time oozes personality and has a very unique feel. And it is one of the darkest Zelda games since it has such a sad story and lots of tension, and so many creepy and emotional moments within the main story, like the backstories of all the masks, and also within the many memorable side quests, like the couple in the Anju and Cafe quest, just to name one example. It's a very weird game, but in a good way. Just like Link's Awakening, expect many kooky characters, and this one also definitely has a Twin Peaks vibe, like with its odd town, its citizens, and a very creepy horror atmosphere. And the music is glorious. It is considered by many to be one of the most artistic and important games in the series, since it has so much to say, and lots to discover and analyze. To this day, people are still doing videos and articles theorizing and analyzing the game, like the theories about Link being dead and that all this experience, or that the game's story, is him being in purgatory. So things like that. And this is very similar to how television fans are still analyzing and debating about Twin Peaks decades later. I think I've mentioned Twin Peaks 100 times already. In theory, it should have been higher on my list, but the problem is that I don't always find myself having fun with the minute-to-minute gameplay, especially in the dungeons, because the time limit is too stressful for me. I need time to do dungeons, and this game really stresses me out. But I do enjoy the areas leading up to the dungeons and many of the side quests, so it's a great experience despite being annoying at times. So yeah, it's still a masterpiece, despite my issues with it. And now on to number 6, Breath of the Wild. And this is the game that reinvented the Zelda series and shot it up to a level of success never seen before. It sold over 30 million copies, and the sequel, Tears of the Kingdom, sold over 20. The world is huge, and you can explore it however you want. And I remember sharing stories with friends and seeing how everyone was having such a different experience with the game. And I remember doing the Sora dungeon first, for example, and my friend Angel told me that he did the Gerudo one first, so he took a much harder route when starting the game than I did. And it has so many great and epic moments, like the team-up moments before you enter each divine beast. Like when you team up with Prince Sidon and you're throwing arrows at objects that are coming at you, that's a really cool sequence. And the divine beasts are the main dungeons in the game, and the shrines or the mini dungeons are very fun to play. But one of my favorite things about the Zelda series is story, and these two games sacrifice story for the sake of the open world. But this game and its sequel offer some of the most fun minute-to-minute gameplay. So I was barely bored, and I was usually having lots of fun. So despite the story being a bit weak, and some annoying things like the breakable weapons and the rain, I am very fond of this game and very nostalgic about it, and about my first year with the Nintendo Switch in 2017. And now on to number 5, Tears of the Kingdom. The sequel to Breath of the Wild was bigger and arguably better than the first one. It had 3 worlds to explore, because you had the sky, you had Hyrule, and the underworld. Now granted, the underworld was a bit of a chore most of the time, but the game was still very impressive by being so big. There were tons of side quests, and the dungeons felt a bit more like the ones from previous Zelda games, and there were some epic moments like every sequence leading up to the 4 temples. One moment I remember fondly was all the platforming in the Wind Temple, or leading up to the Wind Temple I should say. And the crafting was deep, and there were tons of mechanics that basically allowed you to break the game, like Ascend, which is basically the ability to travel through objects and ascend to the top of mountains, for example, and other terrain. The game is technically impressive, and like its predecessor, it has many systems that work with each other and on top of each other to create an organic world and an organic experience. Like the physics system, for example, and the weather system, and more. And the game came out at a time when I needed a game like this. A game that I could lose myself into and explore and play for hours and hours across weeks and weeks. I think I put at least 150 hours into it. And these last 5 years, since the pandemic and up, have been tough for me. I'm not going to go into detail, but let's just say that they've been funky, and this game helped me escape and forget about my troubles for quite a while, and therefore I have a deep connection to it, and I love the game. It means a lot to me. And now, number 4, the Minish Cap. This is my favorite game of the 2D top-down Zelda games. I love its Wind Waker inspired art style, and I love that the story is set so early in the Zelda timeline, sometime after Skyward Sword, but before Ocarina of Time. And it shows us the origin of Link's hat, and the origin of the Kokiri or the Four Sword, the villain Vati, and much more. And its main gameplay mechanic is fun, since it has you shrinking down to size and exploring small spaces and seeing small objects around you look bigger than Link. And I like the dungeons, which is not something I always say, because I'm usually overwhelmed by tempos. But this game has fun dungeons that are challenging, but not overly difficult or so long that they overstay their welcome. And over the years I've developed plenty of nostalgia for the GBA and the Gamecube era of Nintendo, aka the early to mid 2000s. So I have a lot of fondness for this title. It's probable that over time, I put Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom over this one, but for now, it stays in number 4.
The Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap, only for Game Boy Advance. Rated E for everyone.
And now on to number 3, Twilight Princess. I have a lot of nostalgia for this game. I remember vividly seeing the picture of Link fighting the Lizalfos during computer class when I should have been paying attention to the teacher. And I think I interrupted class with my reaction to it. And Troach and Alexis were there, and I showed them the picture after class as I salivated at the desire to play this upcoming game. And we all know how iconic that first trailer is, and the moment when Miyamoto jumped on stage with the sword and the shield. And it is a game that harkens back to Ocarina of Time in many ways, with many familiar locations, but centuries later. And it has Link transforming into a wolf and exploring the mysterious Twilight realm. And I played this game very slowly over a long period of time. I think I beat it in 2009, like 3 years after it came out, so I spent part of high school and college playing this game. I even made a short silly video years ago inspired by this game, and I think that video is still here on this channel, by the way. The Legend of Tito Flo. And I like the game's story, and its moody and dark tone, and its intense atmosphere. And it has tons of epic action sequences, like the Western-inspired shootout at the Hidden Village, and the many horseback sequences like protecting the Sora Prince by fighting the bokoblins and also putting out the fires with the Gale Boomerang. And let's not forget the epic moment at the Bridge of Eldin. And in my opinion, the more they add epic action sequences to Zelda games and playable scripted moments, the better. I like action. But the dungeons were very hard for me, so the game had moments that were very frustrating for me. I don't like having to spend more than 3 hours in a dungeon, and I prefer to beat them in one go. But that wasn't always the case with this game. But luckily, what I remember the most isn't the frustrating puzzle boxes, it's the story beats. It's the amazing songs, and the epic moments that have stayed with me all these years. And Midna was an awesome companion. So yeah, I love Twilight Princess, and I hope it gets remade, or at least remastered in a deeper way than what they did on Wii U, because it needs a new coat of paint, at least. And now on to number 2, The Wind Waker. This is hands down one of the best Zelda games, and one of the best video games ever made. It has a beautiful cel-shaded cartoony art style that looked amazing in the early 2000s, and it holds up perfectly to this day. And I will never understand the hate that it got when it came out. I'm looking at you, Troach. But luckily over time, it has gotten much love and is now considered one of the best entries in the series. I love its ocean world, full of secrets to find, kooky characters to meet, side quests to take on, and epic dungeons to explore. But for me, it's the music and the characters and the story that I remember the most. Songs like the fun ocean theme and the melancholic grandma's theme are stuck in my head forever. And the lovable characters are all very memorable, and the story is amazing. And it's basically post-apocalyptic in a way, because Hyrule has been flooded, and now it's a series of islands that you have to explore. And there's a lot of depth to the story. And despite the cute art style, the story can be surprisingly dark and sad at times. And the last fight ends in a brutal and violent moment. Spoiler alert, who can forget Link impaling Ganon's face with the Master Sword? I know I never will. And this is the best villain in the series, because this is a defeated and melancholic Ganon who has regrets and he wishes to restore the Hyrule that he knew, and he can't let go of. Same goes for the King of Hyrule. They're both struggling with regret, and with letting go of the past. So this is a story of regret, loss, and eventually having to move on. And I remember spending summer of 2004 or 2005 immersed in this game and living in this watery world for a long time. And while I started Ocarina of Time first, I ended up beating Wind Waker first, since I took a break from Ocarina when I lost my save data and I got frustrated I had to restart the game. So yeah, Wind Waker and Ocarina are kind of connected to me, and they're my two first Zelda games. So I can't recommend this game enough. It's a masterpiece. Go play it on Switch through NSO, or on Wii U if you prefer the remaster, or get a copy for GameCube. There's many options. I prefer the original without the excessive bloom and the lighting that makes the characters look 3D, and therefore defeating the purpose of the cel-shaded visuals. So I recommend NSO or the GameCube itself. I just wish we had a version of the original in widescreen. So I hope that they remaster the remaster at some point, or maybe remake it if they feel the need to. Anyway, I think I really gave away my number 1 Zelda game, and that game is Ocarina of Time. This is the quintessential Zelda game for so many fans. It's a groundbreaking game, and it brought Zelda to 3D, and it changed what 3D action-adventure games were, and along with Mario 64, it changed gaming in general. It was my first Zelda game, as I said already. When I was in 8th grade, my friend Alexis sold me the game along with some other titles like Majora's Mask, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Killer Instinct, and more. And as a Nintendo fan, Zelda was always on my radar, of course, but when I was a kid, I mostly played platformer games like Mario and Sonic games, lots of beat-em-ups, and lots of licensed games. So Ocarina of Time was one of the first big and immersive games that I ever played, and it opened my eyes and showed me that games could be so much more, because this wasn't a game that goes level by level. This was very immersive. This was a world. This was not just a game, it was an experience. This might sound hyperbolic and maybe even silly to some of you, but the reality is that Ocarina of Time is one of those games, one of those rare games, and pieces of media and art in general that is truly life-changing. And that's because I credit this game, among several other games like Mario 64 and Metroid Prime, as one of the games that evolved my tastes as a video game player and got me into more genres and made me into a more passionate lover of the medium, the industry, and the art form that is video games. And the game nailed every category and checked every box, because it has fun combat, deep dungeons, a rich world to explore, amazing and iconic songs, great storytelling, beautiful art design, and for the time, very impressive graphics. Its story is epic in scope and also very emotional, as you see Link grow from a young kid in the Kokiri forest into the man who saves Hyrule. And he goes through a lot and he sacrifices a lot. And we go on this journey with Link and we feel all those emotions with him. So this is one of those games that stays with you. I'll never forget so many gameplay moments, like learning how to play the game in the Kokiri forest and playing the first dungeon, which is the Deku Tree, and the characters and the world they inhabit and the catchy songs will live on in my heart forever. My passion for this game is real and my nostalgia is intense. Sometimes I'll watch the intro video and let the imagery and the music just take me back. And yes, this game always takes me back to middle school and my teen years, to simpler times basically, and reminds me of my school gang like G, Angel, Troch, and many others. And I have played it with them several times, like during our 2009 and 64 Retro Day. It always makes me feel young and carefree. It's a game that is always good for the soul. And it's a generational defining game, a genre defining game, and one of the best games ever made. And I hope they remake it, because that will bring even more people into it, the newer fans, into this game, and it will give us longtime fans a new way to experience this game and an excuse to go back to it. So long live Ocarina of Time, and happy 40th anniversary to The Legend of Zelda. That's a very special series. It's an amazing video game series, and one of the best video game franchises of all time. Thank you for watching the video, it means a lot, it always does. This is not our first Zelda anniversary video, and it will not be our last either. Many more videos are coming soon, so stay tuned for more, and feel free to check out our other Nintendo videos, like our Mario anniversary videos from last year, like the Mario Top 10, the tribute montage, and our review of Mario Land 1. So if you like Zelda, Nintendo, video games in general, and you're a nostalgic person, then this is your channel. Feel free to subscribe, and once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.